In this particular video, we're going to create an estimate required for executing a particular job. So we're going to log in as a planning engineer who has access to the Omni. So navigate to, again, the jobs portfolio from underneath projects and go to the job dashboard of the job that you'd like to create an estimate for. Then on the left side here, you have the estimates link. Click on the estimates link. And this takes you to the list of estimates that you have created for this job. Now, since this is the first estimate we're going to create for this job, there are no estimates right now. So we'll click on add here. And let's say we'll put in the name of the estimate and whether or not this estimate is a budget or not. So when we say that this estimate is a budget, we can use this for procurement of the resources. So for instance, let's say in this estimate we put cement or we put steel as part of the material required for project execution, then the quantity of that steel or cement that we have put in this estimate is the budget for cement or steel for this particular job. So let's mark this as budget and click on save. Okay, so what we have here are the various BOQs. The BOQs that have scopes linked to them will show up with a standard rate and a standard cost attached to them. So for instance here, note that the miscellaneous items at plinth level BOQ has two scopes associated with it. We can create an estimate for only those BOQs that have scopes linked to them. So the first prerequisite for creating an estimate is that all the BOQs should have scopes linked to them. And the reason this requirement is there is that the scope consists of the execution item, and the resource required for executing that scope is the estimate. So here, since we have already linked these two particular scopes, digging and selected soil, into this BOQ, it gives us this plus icon next to it, which lets us add the resources into the scope for estimation. So let's click on that. And then for the digging scope, now we can add the estimation. So let's say for digging, we'll need maybe some machines. So let's say we'll take a machine here and let's add a construction equipment here, and we'll add a JCB. And let's say we need a JCB for maybe 500 hours, and the rate per hour is 45. So this is an estimated rate. So what we're doing here is now we're adding a requirement for a JCB for 500 hours at 45 rupees per hour to be used for executing this digging scope. Is an hour, so the total value of this resource required for executing the digging scope is 22,500 rupees. So the estimated cost is 22,500 rupees. Now the estimated rate is now this estimated cost divided by the quantity of the digging. So what we're saying is that in order to execute 5,000 square meters of digging, we have to spend 22,500 rupees, and that is all in machines that's required. Now obviously just a machine won't help. We're going to have to add some labor to it. So let's add a labor. So these labor list comes from the cadre master list that's there in Omni. So we're going to have to choose one that exists. So let's just say this, and this also we'll need for 500 hours. And let's say the rate is 50 rupees per hour. So now we're saying that an officer is required for 500 hours at 50 rupees an hour, and the value is 25,000 rupees. So the total cost now goes up to 47,500 rupees. Now, similarly, I'll keep on adding the different resources necessary to complete this scope, and the quantity of the scope necessary, quantity of the resource necessary to complete 5,000 square meters of this scope. So far I've added a machine. So the type of this resource is E/G. What this means is E stands for equipment or machine. G stands for group. Now machines are always estimated by groups because we don't really want to add a specific JCB to this estimate. We just say that we need a class of machines called JCBs. Now here we added a labor. Now labor can be added both in terms of group as well as specific individuals. So if it's a very specialized work that can be done only by one person, then you can add that person's time into the estimate as well. Well, in this case, there was no need to do that, so we added the cadre directly. Now, similarly, we can add material as well. So let's add some material. Now, let's search for material to add. So sand is what we want to add. So we'll add river sand. River sand unit is in brass. Now let's say we need 10 brass for this. And if this material has been purchased previously, I can click on this and it will give me the last rate of this material. Now in this case, I've never purchased river sand in the system, so I don't have a rate for river sand. So let's just put 45 rupees per brass. So now material got added. So we need river sand, 10 brass of it at 45 rupees per brass. Now similarly, I can also estimate by material group. So if I did not know the specific item to be added to the estimate, I could have chosen the group directly. So let's say I need painting, and I will do this by amount. So now this becomes my estimated cost. Now see the way the estimated cost is being built up. So when I'm adding all the different resources necessary for executing this scope, my estimated cost keeps going up. Now the estimated cost when divided by the quantity gives me the estimated rate. So this process is also called rate analysis or rate buildup. So far I've added machines, I've added material, I've added labor. Now let's also add some overhead as well. So let's add indirect expenses instead. So let's add some power charges. And again, the same thing, we'll add it in terms of lump sum. So 5,600 rupees of power charges we're budgeting for this particular scope. So we can add different overheads directly into this scope as well. Now, if I wanted to add a subcontractor item, I could have added the subcontractor item here. Now that process we will review when we look into subcontractor execution. So for now we'll dispense with that. So that this adds the various resources, and now see that the estimated cost has now gone up to 1,09,550. So let's go back to the estimate, and this is now the estimated cost. In order to complete this estimate, you would have to continue adding the various resources into this. See this, it's here. So I added it for the digging scope. So similarly, I would have to add it for the selected soil scope as well. So I'd have to repeat this whole process and set up all the different factors of production for each of the scopes that I have linked to the different BOQs. And that will let me create the estimate. Now, once I've completed this whole process and the entire estimate is ready and I can do whatever I need to do, I need to request approval for this estimate from an authority that has the rights to approve estimates like this. So I would click on request approval, and automatically a notification would go off to the user who has the authority to receive to approve estimates. So we can try and see what notification this user would have gotten. And the appropriate approving authority then has to log into Omni to approve the estimate. So let's see the alert that's gone out to the approving authority. And you see approval request. So an approval request has been sent for this particular estimate. So let's go back again and see this estimate. So that's this estimate, ESTC 2867 and ESTC 2867. So now the next step now is obviously the approving authority has to log into Omni and approve this estimate. So let's go back and let's follow that process as well. Let's log in as the approving authority, in this case portal admin, and in the My Approval section in the home page, sure enough, a request to approve ESTC 2867 by the planning engineer has been put in. Now, as the approving authority, I can check this out. So I can view the estimate. So this is the estimate. And these are the different two scopes. And these are the resources associated with this particular estimate. So let's say this is fine with me, and I click on the check mark. Yes, this estimate is approved. And once I say that the estimate is approved, then the requesting person, who in this case was the planning engineer, would have gotten an email telling him that the estimate that he had requested was also approved. So we can also check that out. So let's log back in as the planning engineer and see the status of that estimate. And yes, so this estimate has been approved. So now when an estimate has been approved, it can't be edited or deleted anymore. The only thing you can do is you can view the estimate. You can click on that and view the estimate. You can obviously print it into PDF, Excel, or Word or whatever. You can mark this estimate as ready for quotation so that it can be used in the pre-tender stage, but we'll get to that when we review the pre-tender stage. You can also copy this estimate into a new estimate. So you can click on this thing and a new estimate was copied. So now note, when the estimate, when it is copied over, all the data remains the same, except if it was approved, it is now no longer approved, and the code of the estimate also changes. So now that the estimate is not approved anymore, you can actually delete this estimate, or you can edit this estimate as well. So I can edit this.
So when an estimate is in its unapproved state, it can be edited or deleted. In order to delete an estimate, click on the delete icon. You'll be prompted, accept the prompt, and it'll be deleted. Now, in certain situations, creating an estimate in Excel is easier than going through the rate analysis screen and adding the resources into the job scopes one by one. In order to support that requirement, Omni has the facility to upload an estimate directly into Omni. The format of this estimate must be in Excel. To begin, go to the BOQ screen and export the list of BOQs to scope links. So this is the job scopes that have been linked to the BOQ. Click on the download, and this will download a CSV file. This CSV file is your starter file or your template that you can use to prepare the estimate upload. So this is a sample upload that contains the various columns necessary for the resources in the estimate. So in order to upload this, go back to Jobs, then choose the job that you want to upload the estimate into. Click on the Estimates link in the job dashboard. And click on the Upload Estimate button. This shows the format of the Excel file. The columns are self-explanatory. The 3 columns to note are the resource type column, the values of which must be L, M, S, E, or O, and the resource subtype. Depending on the value of the resource type and the resource subtype, the value of resource code represents different things. So for instance, if resource type is M, subtype is I, the resource code must be the material code. So we'll select the file and click on Submit. So the Excel file contained 8 resource assignments, and they're all there. Click on Budget, because we wanted to create it as a budget, and click on Submit. And then a new estimate has been created, which contains 8 resource assignments. So we can go back to the estimate screen and review the estimate that just got created from the Excel file that we uploaded. So go back to Estimates, and this shows us the Excel file.